What if I told you that the old Canadian penny lying forgotten in your drawer could actually be worth millions of dollars? Yes. That tiny copper coin you once used to buy candy might now be worth more than your car, your house, or even your entire savings. For over a century, Canada's humble 1-cent coin has passed through countless hands, from farmers and shopkeepers to kids trading bubble gum, but hidden among billions of these pennies are a few extraordinary treasures, rare mistakes, secret mint marks, and historic additions that collectors are desperately searching for, and some of them are worth life-changing money. So before you toss away that old coin jar or cash in your change, stop for a moment, because one of those pennies could turn you into a millionaire overnight. In this video, we're uncovering the most valuable Canadian 1-cent coins ever discovered. Rare, mysterious, and unbelievably expensive. Stay tuned till the end, because your next fortune might just be hiding in your pocket. The Canadian penny may be small in size, but its story is larger than life. Since the very first one was struck in 1858, it has witnessed generations grow, economies change, and a nation evolve. For decades, it was the heart of Canadian pocket change, a symbol of everyday life. But hidden within this ordinary coin lies an extraordinary secret. A few rare versions that could turn the smallest denomination into a million-dollar fortune. Every coin tells a story, and some tell stories that are worth gold. Among billions of pennies produced, only a handful became legendary. They were never meant to be special. Yet a twist of history, a minting error, or a royal transition turned them into priceless treasures. And the most famous of them all is one mysterious coin from the 1930s. This coin is known as the 1936 dot penny, and it is the crown jewel of Canadian numismatics, a coin so rare that only 3 are known to exist in the entire world. Its story began in a year of royal chaos. In 1936, King George V passed away, and his son, King Edward VIII, took the throne. But Edward's unexpected decision to abdicate the crown to Mary Wallace Simpson threw the royal mint into total confusion. The new coins bearing Edward's portrait were already being prepared, but after his abdication, they could no longer be used. So the Canadian Mint had a problem. What design should they use for the next year's coins? Their solution was clever but subtle. They took the existing 1936 dies with King George V's portrait and added a tiny dot just below the date to mark it as a special 1937 issue. This little dot was supposed to represent a temporary fix until coins with the new king's portrait were ready. But that temporary decision accidentally created one of the rarest coins in Canadian history. Only a few of these pennies were ever struck, and they were never officially released into circulation. Most were melted down, but 3 somehow survived, and those 3 became legends. Collectors have spent decades searching for more, but none have ever appeared. When one of these elusive dot pennies was auctioned, it shattered records, selling for more than $400,000 USD, and experts believe if another one ever surfaces, it could easily be worth over $1 million. Just imagine, a simple penny, the kind that once bought a stick of gum, now worth more than an entire house. That's the magic of history, rarity, and pure luck combined in one small coin. And that's only the beginning, because not every valuable penny comes from a royal mystery. Some are hiding in plain sight, right in your change jar, just waiting to be discovered. Next, we'll uncover a penny from the 1950s that looks completely normal, until you look a little closer and realize something's missing. A tiny design flaw that turned this everyday coin into a small fortune. Stay tuned, because what comes next might make you check your coins immediately. Now let's travel 2 decades forward to 1955, the year a simple design change created one of the most fascinating errors in Canadian coin history. This is the story of the 1955 no-shoulder-fold penny, also known as the NSF variety. At first glance, it looks like a normal penny. Nothing fancy, nothing strange. But take a closer look and you'll notice something missing. Something so small that most people never even realized it. Look closely at Queen Elizabeth II's portrait. Right near her shoulder there's supposed to be a tiny fold, a line in the gown that represents the artist's initial design. But in this version, that line never appeared. The result? A smooth shoulder with no fold, and an extremely rare coin. This wasn't done on purpose. When the Royal Canadian Mint was preparing the first dies with Queen Elizabeth II's new portrait, they accidentally used a softer, early engraving without the shoulder detail. A few of these coins were minted and released before the mistake was caught and corrected. Most Canadians back then never noticed it. They used these pennies for candy, bus fare, or soda, not realizing that this tiny detail would one day make collectors go crazy. But decades later, the no-shoulder fold penny became one of the most sought-after varieties of modern Canadian coins. Today, this coin's value depends on its condition. A heavily circulated one might bring a few $100s. But a sharp, uncirculated example, the kind that looks brand new, can easily fetch $5,000 to $12,000 USD, and sometimes even more. Imagine that. One small line missing on a queen's dress, and suddenly your 1-cent coin becomes 1,000 times more valuable. It's proof that in the world of coins, even the tiniest error can make a massive difference. And this isn't the only time rarity struck unexpectedly. Sometimes it wasn't about an error, it was about scarcity. There were years when so few pennies were made that finding even one became almost impossible. Our next stop takes us all the way back to the early 1920s. To a penny that's nearly 100 years old, one that collectors hunt for tirelessly, and one that could still be hiding in an old jar or drawer right now. Get ready, because the 1923 Canadian small cent is next, and it's worth far more than you'd ever imagine. Now we travel back a full century, to a time when the Roaring Twenties were in full swing, but Canada was quietly producing one of the rarest pennies in its history, the 1923 small cent. At first glance, it might look like any other old brown coin. Simple, tiny, and unassuming. But what makes it extraordinary is just how few were ever made. In 1923, the Royal Canadian Mint faced major production problems, and only around 1 million of these pennies were struck, one of the lowest mintages for any Canadian cent ever produced. To put that in perspective, most other years had tens of millions of pennies made. That means that for every 100 1920s pennies you might find, almost none will be from 1923. And even if you're lucky enough to find one, chances are it's been heavily used, scratched, or worn down after decades of circulation. Collectors consider the 1923 penny a key date, a coin that every serious collector needs to complete their small cent collection. That scarcity drives its value higher every single year. Even a worn-out one might bring a few $100s. But if it's clean, sharp, and well-preserved, you could be holding a treasure worth $3,000 to $6,000 USD. What makes it even more exciting is that there's no special marking or obvious feature. Nothing to warn you that you're holding a coin worth thousands. It's a silent treasure hiding in plain sight. Many people have passed over this coin without realizing what they had. And that's exactly why it continues to surprise new collectors even today. So, if you've got a handful of old Canadian pennies sitting in a jar, take a good look at the dates. Because if one of them says 1923, you might just be staring at a small copper coin with a massive story and a serious payday attached. But that's not where the surprises end. Just 2 years later, another small cent was minted. One even rarer in top condition and every bit as valuable. A coin so elusive that collectors call it the ghost year of Canadian pennies. Up next, we uncover the secret of the 1925 small cent. Another hidden treasure that could make you rethink every penny you've ever seen. Now, let's talk about a penny that's even rarer than the 1923, a coin that seems to vanish from every collection, except the luckiest few. It's called the 1925 Canadian small cent, and collectors often refer to it as the ghost year of Canadian pennies. So why is this coin so special? In 1925, Canada's economy was in a strange place. The demand for 1-cent coins had dropped sharply, and as a result, the Royal Canadian Mint produced an incredibly low number of them. Only around 1.5 million in total. That's an extremely tiny mintage compared to other years. To make things worse, most of the coins that were made ended up circulating for decades, getting worn out, scratched, or lost. Today, finding a 1925 penny in good condition is almost impossible. Even well-known collectors spend years searching for one that hasn't been damaged by time. The few that do exist, in mint or uncirculated condition, are considered national treasures. But here's what makes the 1925 even more fascinating. It doesn't have any strange markings, errors, or mint dots. It's just an ordinary-looking penny that hides extraordinary value. That's what makes it so exciting. Anyone could have one without even realizing it. Prices for this rare coin vary widely. A lower-grade 1925 small cent might bring a few $100s, but a crisp, uncirculated example, the kind with clear details and no scratches, can easily sell for $5,000 to $7,000 USD, and sometimes even more if it's certified by top-grading companies like PCGS or NGC. Think about it, a 1-cent coin, struck nearly a century ago, now worth more than a luxury watch or a gold bar. That's the power of rarity, history, and luck combined in a single piece of copper. So if you ever come across a 1925 penny in your collection or at a flea market, don't ignore it. That tiny coin could be your ticket to a collector's jackpot. And while older coins like these are pure history, Some of the biggest surprises in Canadian pennies actually come from the modern era. Coins that look completely ordinary at first glance, but are worth thousands due to minting mistakes. Up next, we're going to uncover a coin from the 2000s that shocked everyone. A penny with a tiny minting error that turned into a collector's dream. Stay tuned, because the 2006 no mint mark penny might just be the most surprising discovery yet. Now, let's fast forward to the modern era, the year 2006. By this time, the Canadian penny had been around for almost 150 years, and most people thought there were no surprises left. But then, something unexpected happened. A few coins started appearing that didn't look quite right. Collectors began to notice that some 2006 pennies were missing. A tiny detail, the mint mark. Normally, every Canadian penny from this period carried a small P mark just below. Queen Elizabeth II's portrait, showing that it was made from plated steel instead of pure copper. But on a handful of these 2006 coins, the P was missing entirely. At first, people thought it was a trick, maybe a scratched coin or a fake. But when experts examined them, they realized something incredible. These were genuine mint errors, caused when a batch of coins was accidentally struck using older dies that didn't include the new mint mark. Only a limited number escaped into circulation before the mistake was discovered, and that made these no mint mark pennies instantly legendary. Imagine spending just 1 cent on something that could later be worth $1,000 or more. Today, the 2006 no mint mark penny is considered one of the rarest modern Canadian coins. Depending on its condition and certification, collectors have paid between $500 and $1,000 USD, and the highest quality examples could fetch even more as their rarity continues to grow. What's amazing is that these coins are recent, meaning they could still be hiding in your old change jars, tucked away in drawers or sitting unnoticed in a piggy bank. So yes, even in the 21st century, the humble penny continues to surprise everyone. It's living proof that history isn't just something of the past. It's still being written, one coin at a time. And there you have it. The hidden world of Canada's most valuable 1-cent coins. Tiny pieces of history that turned ordinary metal into extraordinary fortune. From the legendary 1936 dot penny worth over $1 million, to the 1955 no shoulderfold, the 1923 and 1925 small cents, and the shocking 2006 no mint mark error. These coins remind us that value doesn't always come in size. Sometimes, the smallest things hold the greatest worth. Think about it. For generations, people spent these pennies without a second thought. They rolled them up, dropped them in jars, even lost them under couches. And yet today, those same forgotten coins are making headlines, breaking auction records, and changing lives. So before you cash in your spare change or throw away that dusty jar of old coins, take one last look, because hidden among them could be a penny that makes you the next big discovery in Canadian coin history. Each of these coins carries a story of mistakes that became miracles, of rare moments in history frozen forever in metal. They prove that luck can strike anyone, anywhere, at any time. And maybe, just maybe, it's waiting in your own home right now. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon, because we've got more amazing stories coming. Rare coins, hidden treasures, and unbelievable values you need to know about. And remember, the next time you pick up an old penny, don't just see a coin. See a story, a mystery, and maybe even your fortune.